What is Dragon's devil fruit powers, if he even has any? For a character that was introduced in chapter 100 in 1999, over 22 years ago, we know very little about his abilities. Ever since Wano has ended, it feels as if Oda has been prepping us for Dragon to eventually show up in the main story and actually do something, as the current arc is heavily tied with the Revolutionary Army. Sabo and Lulusia Kingdom got erased. Bonnie knows what happens to Sabo, as well as Kuma being with the Rebs, and he is also connected with Bonnie and Vegapunk, and we find out that Vegapunk knew Dragon, and we've also learned the origins of the Revolutionary Army. We've been getting a lot of exposition on Dragon and the Revolutionary Army, making me think he may show up in the story a lot sooner than later, maybe even appearing in Egghead or reunite with Luffy, as this is the final saga, so it's time for the Rebs to make a move. So I'd like to discuss and discover one of the biggest mysteries in One Piece, the devil fruit of Monkey D. Dragon. Of course, for more videos like this, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click the bell icon to stay notified, as I would greatly appreciate it. And as usual, I'll give you a hug and maybe even a kiss with consent. Now, there is a lot of hype surrounding Monkey D. Dragon. He is the son of Garp and the father of Luffy, two of the strongest characters in the series. He is the most wanted man in the world, heading the Revolutionary Army that goes directly against the world government. And he taught Sabo how to fight, implying that his abilities originated from Dragon. He has a tremendous willpower, as stated by Ivankov when comparing Luffy to him back in Impel Down, and most likely has Conqueror's Haki. He is the head of the Revolutionary Army and has great charisma, but also Garp mentions to Luffy that he knew that he was born with Conqueror's Haki, kind of implying that it just runs in the family. But what exactly is the devil fruit of this highly anticipated and legendary character? So let's start off with the most likely option, or the one that I would want to see the most, and that is the Wind Logia ability. Because Dragon has been in the story since chapter 100, I believe Oda has already thought of what his powers are since the very inception of the story 20 plus years ago. And because of this, I think his powers are going to be pretty basic and straightforward, but yet very powerful, similar to the Blackbeard Pirates, where almost all of their devil fruits are the perfect match for them, and you can easily tell that Oda thought of this since their very inception. And I think the same is with Dragon, where every time we see his character, there was always some strong winds involved. His home base Baltigo, before it was destroyed, was always sunny and had strong winds, and he'd always face towards the East Blue, which we know where Luffy was born, so he was always reminiscing about his family. When he appears in Loketown, the weather is very severe and there's large gusts of wind everywhere he goes. And back in the Great Terminal, when he saves everyone, there seems to be a large wind blast to blow away the fire. And when he returns after saving Sabo, it seems as if he was flying in the air and then landed. So I truly believe that the Wind Logia would make a lot of sense, because the wind would allow him to manipulate the weather to a degree, and it's also a very simple yet very broken and powerful ability. I do think it fits his character quite well, the winds of change, revolution, and the ultimate sign of freedom, as well as fanning the flames of revolution, and in this case, that would be Sabo, his right-hand man. And it would be such a devastating ability, the intangibility of a Logia, but also causing tornadoes, hurricanes, manipulating the weather, and so much more. To me, it seems as though wind and air is a common theme with Dragon and his powers, but there are different abilities he could have, such as manipulating the weather, which would probably make him a Paramecia. That would be such a broken ability. We have seen characters manipulate the weather to an extent such as Nami and Big Mom, but we have never seen an actual weather devil fruit. Basically, Mother Nature and all of the elements would be at your disposal. It could explain the lightning bolt that saved Luffy from his execution and the heavy storm that was happening during Loketown. I would really love this ability because there's so much you could do and the possibilities are endless, and I'm a huge fan of the X-Men, with Storm being one of my favorite characters, and she could do so much nutty stuff. And having an ability that could literally manipulate the weather would definitely make Dragon one of the most dangerous and powerful entities on the entire planet. And a weather devil fruit would allow him to be a lot more versatile and unpredictable. This would work well with his character as he's literally changing the world as he promised years ago. But we're not done yet, as there are still other options such as the third category, the Zoan, specifically the Mythical Zoans, as those are the ones that allow Oda to be the most creative and fun because these fruits are like a package deal, getting the abilities of Paramecia and Zoan into one, and basically Oda could do whatever he wants because who could tell him what he can't do, because these things don't exist. And there are so many options to choose from. The most obvious one is definitely a dragon, as we know these things exist, or at least did, in the world of One Piece, evident by the experimentation on Punk Hazard, the celestial dragons and their weird obsession. Kaido himself being a dragon user doesn't eliminate the possibility of other dragons. In a lot of myths and legends, there are dragons in all shapes and sizes, such as the typical Western dragon, the ones with 4 legs and giant wings, as opposed to the serpent-like creatures. This one would also make a lot of sense, as this would make him extremely powerful, durable, but also allow him to manipulate the weather. In the Western world, dragons are considered evil, greedy, and the devil, kind of how the D-Clan are portrayed in this series. And we've seen what Kaido was capable of with his devil fruit. Imagine a different version of a dragon out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other dragon devil fruits out there, although they are extremely rare. In my opinion, I like this idea, but I do believe it's a little too on the nose, as his name is Monkey D. Dragon and well, his powers is a dragon. It makes a lot of sense, but for me it would be a little too obvious, I guess. So that leads us to another mythical deity, this time a god, as Dragon could have eaten the human fruit model Fusion, the god of the wind. This would make a lot of sense, as Luffy in his gears does resemble Fusion or Raijin with the clouds surrounding his body, but also this god is usually depicted as green, and we know green is the colorway that's mostly associated with dragon, and thus would also allow him to control the weather and the winds, as that seems to be a major theme with his powers and this character. I like it. It wouldn't be too far-fetched as we've seen other characters such as Buddha in the series and Sun God Nika. Even got a reference to his counterpart Raijin with Enel's final form. Even though I love all of these ideas, there is still one other deity I'd like to look at.
They called him Kukulkan, the feather serpent god.
Now this deity is known as the creator god and the god of rain, wind, storms, and life. This ability would allow him to control the wind and storms, which is a characteristic of dragon, but what's interesting about this deity is that it actually might exist in One Piece, and the reason I say this is because the actual statues of the Kukulkan in real life can actually be found in Shandia as well. When you enter the City of Gold, a small statue that looks very identical to this deity can be found. We do know that the Shandians did serve a serpent entity, but also many believe that Dragon is also associated with Shandia, evident with his face tattoo, something that wasn't there until a few years after he formed the Revolutionary Army. And we've talked previously how Shandia and the Skypians could be a microcosm as to what happened 900 years ago. And carrying on the will of his people, he has the power of a god entity that once protected Shandia. So in a sense, alongside his son, is carrying on the will of these godlike deities, getting the revenge on the world government by literally carrying on their will. But that is the video. For certain, I believe Dragon's powers are wind related. Even Luffy seems to be based on a couple of monkey gods like Wukong, and even Hanuman, who was the son of Vayu, the god of the wind. So I definitely think Dragon has wind abilities, and me personally, I believe that Dragon has the wind Logia. It's simple, it's basic, but extremely versatile and powerful. It would also allow him to manipulate the weather and do even more nutty stuff. And usually devil fruits in One Piece perfectly match that of the user, and I think wind would be the perfect representation of Dragon, especially because this is a character he had in mind for over 2 decades, so I definitely think he had his devil fruit planned a long time ago. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I hope you guys have a good day and a good night. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.